Friends in Christ, Pastor Brian here. The last 2 weeks have been difficult ones for me and my family. My mother, Jean, died on the morning of Friday, November 10th after a brief illness. And that same day, my father, Jim, was admitted to the hospital for pneumonia. I drove to their homes in North Carolina on November 13th, and my wife, Karen, joined me 5 days later. We returned just this past Monday, November 27th. In the interim, I spent time with my father in the hospital. I worked with my sister to remove things from my mother's apartment, get things organized for my father to be gone from his home, and plan on his eventual move to be near my sister. It was a busy and difficult time, and one I'm sure I'll be processing for a while. As I return home and I begin to get my head back into our pre-Advent busyness, I'm thinking about a number of things this week. I'm grateful for this community of faith that is St. John Lutheran Church. Once again, you have wrapped your arms around me and my family as we mourn an unexpected death. You have collectively stepped up to make sure that the ministry of this place continues without a hitch, as I have been attentive to my family. I am especially grateful to our administrative assistant, Shelby Miller, Council President Kent Noska, who have both taken on additional duties and executed them well. I'm grateful as well for the additional gifts of our member and retired ELCA Deacon Pam Larrabee-Zerath for providing worship leadership during this time. And there were also many others who have stepped in to make sure that things happen well. My thanks to you all. I have also rediscovered the gift of good neighbors. Lena, who lives across the street from my dad, she stopped by to ask how he was doing, offered to bring his garbage and recycling in and out. Scott and his son Carter, who are taking care of the yard and keeping track of the mail at Dad's, all willing to do whatever they could to help. And then there were the neighbors back at home here in Iowa, Stephen across the street, who I left holding the bag on putting in a new mailbox post. And I really should do that more often because it turned out great. Jim next door, who kept an eye on the house, made sure the walks and drive were clear of the snow that we came home to. Wonderful neighbors, one and all. I am thankful for longtime friends, especially my friend Sarah from my growing up years at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've only seen each other a handful of times over the last 30 years, but she is my sister. She stopped by to see my dad several times in the hospital. She kept me sane until Karen could come out to North Carolina and has been so generous in helping with practical things while my sister Kathy and I are far away. She exemplifies what it truly means to be a sibling in Christ and a dear friend. I am thankful for my sister Kathy and my niece Amanda. Only 6 months removed from the death of my brother-in-law Tim, they have stepped into dealing with yet another estate for my mother. Kathy's also the main one to manage the changes coming from my dad, as she is closest. I am thankful for the muted but much needed Thanksgiving meal that she thought of and that we all shared together. For time going through Mom's pictures and remembering the wonderful life the four of us had together. For not being alone in this. These last 2 weeks have stirred many things in my mind. But certainly as we enter into this season of Advent, a season of waiting and anticipation for the return of our King, Jesus, I am even more aware of my own anticipation for that time when Jesus will come again. When I see my mother's face, hear again her voice, a time when death will be no more, disease will be no more. Advent is a season of waiting, impatiently and with anticipation, but waiting for that time to come. And it's also a season of hope, because in the face of death and disease, We know that because of the birth of the Christ child in Bethlehem, those things do not have the final say. Because of Advent, we know that in the end, God wins. And for that I say, thanks be to God.